Chris Sale, kind enough to join us after doing some production work here in our 680 The Fan studios.
He's getting tugged in every direction.
Yeah, he sure is. I mean, literally, they're pulling you, Chris, in every direction. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate you spending about 10 minutes with us.
Well, it's nice to be wanted, so I don't mind getting pulled in every which direction. So thanks for having me, guys.
All right, you doing okay? Because we talked about and played your cuts earlier from the weekend. I've never heard a guy beat himself up like you do after starts. You doing all right mentally? I'm worried about you.
No, I'm good. I just, hold myself to a pretty high standard, and anything other than getting a job done is unacceptable for me. I get some calls and I get some text messages going, "Hey man, like, what?"
Yeah,
basically what you're just saying.
Are you okay?
Yeah, but
sucked again.
That's you.
Tell me what part of that is wrong, though.
Yeah. So it's really interesting you put it that way, because I think one of the things that does is, and I'm really big on, don't ask me about that guy. Go ask that guy about that guy. You should never in a clubhouse put the burden on somebody else to speak about something else. By you taking that approach, and I believe you mean it wholeheartedly, you've taken the burden off anybody else having to speak about you and performance.
Correct. And I say this a lot, and it's kind of funny, but I think it's true. I feel like I hate losing more than I like winning, because us as ball players and athletes, and especially being competitive, we show up and we expect to win. So like when we win, it's not like we're throwing confetti and patting ourselves on the back, because that's just like, oh yeah, it's like breathing. You're not like, oh man, I took a breath in, I took a breath out. It's like it's expected, right? So when you don't meet expectations, or you stumble a little bit and you put pressure on other guys that are picking up your slack, that's when it becomes a problem. And that, for me, that's been a problem of mine my whole career. Is just really being so finite with my eyes set on winning. And if I don't, it's, what do we show up for?
So you're 30 whatever years old. How do you deal with because you don't get the baseball again for another 4+ days. Does that, what's your cool down period to get back to the next thing that has to be done?
So it's become shorter. When I was young, it was tough. I would say, you give yourself an hour or so after the game, and then, I don't want to take it home. At the very least, I want to be able to show, my teammates and my family. I have 3 sons. I got a 14-year-old, almost 15, 8-year-old, and a 5-year-old. You got to be able to win gracefully, and you got to be able to lose gracefully, right? And no matter what happens, right? Like, I had the best year of my career, and they saw me come home, and I was dad. And then they saw me go to the park and work my butt off to be the best I can be. Well, nothing really changes other than the outcomes, right? So even when you're not doing well, you still need to come home. I need to be dad, and I need to disconnect that from my home. And then they still need to see me go out there and work. And I think that's really the one constant, is no matter what you're doing, having success, having failure, best year of your career, worst year of your career, the work still needs to get done. You got to be a good teammate. Chris
Sale here in studio with us. Is health a concern? You're healthy?
Yeah, no, that's the frustrating part, is I feel like my stuff is there. I've talked about it too. It's like this game is a game of adjustments, right? And it's a game of inches. But sometimes, this much different on a baseball field has, this much difference from an outcome, right? So, you're this far away from a ground ball, but you're also that far away from, getting a new ball from the umpire because you gave up a home run. So the results can be staggering sometimes, but I feel like I'm close, and I'm working to get there.
Your body well enough. Do you think about, am I tipping? Am I at a different arm slot? Am I showing the ball a little bit too much? Do you run through all that stuff?
Yeah, so we've run through some stuff, and early on it's definitely mechanical right now. Like there's some points in my delivery. I'm not a big delivery guy, as you might imagine, but I still need to do things to create points in my delivery that I need to hit to be successful, right? And it starts from the ground up. And I think that we've kind of locked in on a couple cues that I'm not hitting right now that I was hitting when I was successful. And it's just about training your body to get back to that.
So do you do side-by-sides? Are you one of those guys who, I don't sense that you do it a lot, but in moments like this, do you do a side-by-side to just, whether it's slot, whether it's where it's coming out?
Yes.
Okay.
And so we actually, I got pulled into the office. There's so much technology now, which is a double-edged sword, but in this instance, it's actually helping a lot, because it shows you, where your back leg is at lift, where your separation is, where your arm slot is at release, front side. So you can kind of overlay them and be like, okay, well, this is what you're doing when you're successful, and this is you throwing primetime batting practice.
So how much change, you talk about technology, how much change since you first started pitching have you seen at this level?
Whew, a lot, really. And I was away for a lot of it too. I had Tommy John in 2020. So from 2020 to 2023, I was really not playing a whole lot. And I want to say analytics really started coming in when, like 2016, 17, 18, around there.
Right, yeah.
It's when I remember it anyways, seeing it a lot. I'm a little bit more old school when it comes to pitching and competition and stuff like that. I do know that there's value in the numbers, but I just don't want to get too saturated with it.
My guess is your pitching lab for most of your career has been a high school field in the off season, as opposed to a pitching lab where we have everything that you can do right now.
Yeah, I go a lot based on feel, and again, I've always kind of had a really good understanding of how I operate and kind of things I need to do. But again, in instances like I'm going through right now, the technology has helped me, and I think it will help me kind of get over that hump, because I don't feel like I'm that far off. But when you look at it on video and you compare, this one to that one, it's noticeable. I mean, it's nothing crazy. I'm not throwing from over the top, or I'm not scraping the ground. But I mean, it's noticeable when you're doing it enough and you see it enough.
It's interesting. You mentioned a 14-year-old, and then you have young teammates, pitchers. The accountability part, is that also something you think about when you say you separate being dad from baseball? But there are things that bleed into each other. 22-year-old pitcher sees that you're working, you're going, you're owning up, you're standing at your locker. Your 14-year-old realizes the ups and downs are going to happen. Is that conscious? Like, are you aware of sort of working that type of method?
For sure. I think if there's one thing I truly want to be, is accountable. And I think, on my end, again, it goes back to kind of, you got to be the same person. This game has too many ups and downs. It's too long of a season to not know what you're going to get from somebody on a given day. When you know exactly what this guy's going to show up and do, regardless of what his results are, that's being a good teammate to me. And anybody can be a good teammate. Anybody can work hard when when you're on cloud nine. When you're pitching good, everybody's having fun. And when you're playing good, everybody's having fun. But it's the tough times, as a team, even personally. And that's kind of the cool thing about going through something like this, specifically as a team, as a whole. We got off to a pretty rough start, but there was no division. Everyone showed up. We got a lot of good teammates in that clubhouse, and that kind of solidified that for us. So it's easier to fight next to the guy next to you when you can trust them, and that they're going to be accountable.
Finishing up with Chris Sale here in studio with us. I was going to ask you about the accountability with this team. Coming back on a Friday night, I know it's game to game, it's baseball, there's no such thing as momentum. A lot of people will tell you in baseball, but winning a game like that, like you did on Friday, what can that do for a team?
Well, it just picks you up. I think any time that you're, scrapping, I mean, those close games, I mean, you go win 9-1. You not that you put it in cruise control, but you're having fun, and there's the stress levels are a little bit lower, right? When you're grinding and the pressure's high, and you're in a back and forth ball game, you're up, you're down, you're tied, you're up, you're down, you're tied. Those are the ones that kind of bring guys together, because after a game like that, you get in the clubhouse and you're like, whew, yeah. Like you felt like you were in a real battle there, and so those are the fun ones after, to come in the clubhouse and kind of share those moments.
Baseball has told us what a quality start is. I hear you talk, especially this year when things have not gone well, and we played it a little bit earlier where you said, here's what I didn't do. I don't think you necessarily believe that there are numbers that signify a quality start. It's what I expect of myself, and how do I let the bullpen get a night off? I find it interesting. What do you think? 6 innings, 3 runs, and everybody said, well, that's a 4.5 ERA. I don't think you're at any point in your life where you go, oh, it's not about numbers as a quality start. You know a quality start when you see one.
Yeah, and I think, again, like there are numbers that will tell you what that is, but put it this way, if we're winning a game and we're up 9 runs, right, and our starter goes out there and let's say our bullpen's depleted, right, and our starter goes 108 pitches and gets to the 7th inning, but he gives up 4 or 5 runs. I would take that over him going 5 innings and giving up no runs, because you're doing 2 things. Like, we don't really need run prevention here. We need length, because our bullpen's short and we're already winning by a lot. So it's like, the difference between winning a game 9-5 and 9-1, you still won the game, but you're saving bullpen guys. And again, those guys work hard, and you don't really see it right now, but you get to August and September, if you can save 2 guys a week, that's when you see it down the line, and having those guys be fresh down the stretch and in those crunch time games.
Nick asked Austin Riley. We had Austin on Friday, Thursday,
last week.
What day it was?
Whatever it was.
Message to,
Thursday, I believe.
Message to Braves fans about yourself, about your performance, about the team. Is there sort of your message to Atlanta Braves fans who are listening?
About us?
Yeah, about you, your starts, this team.
Bouncing back.
I'm not big about talking about myself, but I appreciate them still showing up, and being behind us. And, I didn't really have a good one. I mean, you guys saw it. I went 4 1/3 for probably, I think it was my 3rd consecutive start. I didn't get through the 5th inning. And walking off that field, they were still behind me. They were still picking me up, and I appreciated that. Not that it made me feel, any better about my start, but you just appreciate knowing that your fan base has your back and they believe in you and they trust in you, right? Again, we got off to a pretty slow start. They're still packing the house. They're still bringing the energy. You got a guy that, punches out who, in a tough spot. It's tough to do that as a player, but when you have the fan base behind you and the trust and the belief, that helps. And it's fun showing up to a stadium with fans like that.
Now, you talked about, you went 7 innings. I remember early in the season last year, there was a game down in Florida where you didn't have your best stuff, but you gave him 7. Do you walk a fine line, though? I want to save the bullpen, but I got to worry about it being a long season for me as a starter as well.
No, that kind of stuff I don't really think about. I go basically start to start, and I just want to win that start. So whatever that team needs from me, that's what I want to bring to the table, right? I know that the game is changing a little bit in terms of, before it's if you don't get to the 6th inning, you got to do a little bit better job next time. And that's where I kind of set my sights. I like getting as deep as possible into games. And I know that's pretty contradictory to what I'm doing right now, but trust me, I'm trying. And
are you worried it's a little bit problematic that guys think 5 innings is okay?
Easy questions today, guys. Yeah. I don't know if problematic is the right word. I just, again, even to guys in the dugout, right, and young guys, and I was talking with Elder about it even just yesterday on the bench. As starters, you want to get as deep into the game as possible, and just I guess the game kind of dictates that for you, right? If you're at 94 pitches in the 4th inning, it's going to be tough. Yeah. And especially now with pitch counts and things like that, I don't really know. But I will say this: if anytime guys come to me and ask questions, our job as starters is our number one job is to win that game. We play once a week. We have time to prepare for this. Win the game. The next step after that, leave your team a chance to win. And then after that, I would say fill as many innings as you can. And I would go in that order, because that's our jobs. Our job is to win games. If we're not, going to guarantee win that game, at least leave your team a chance to win. You give up 3 runs and we score 2, you've left your team a chance to win that game. And then after that, try to get as far into that game as you can, because those guys down in the bullpen are going to appreciate it down the line.
Can we just finish up with this? What's your cooling down period if you come out of a game early, you go to the clubhouse? I'm not asking if inanimate objects have ever paid the price, but I know that those are real stories.
Well, you said two starts ago when he came off the mound, you were very concerned about the visitors' clubhouse.
Yeah, I said if there's anybody in there, get the hell out now. I did say that, because I think there are times that I need alone time, fellas.
Yeah. I think there's different people have different ways of going about it.
Have you ever come into a clubhouse and said, oh my, that wasn't over there when the day started? There's a piece of television or there's something that just didn't start its day right there? I
have come into clubhouses with it being torn up before I got there. So I know that was another teammate. I actually got a pretty funny story about that. I had a teammate in Chicago, JB Shuck. He got these brand new bats, just put his lizard skins on them. and we were in Minnesota, and he just kind of left him in. He kind of leaning up against the wall in the tunnel. There's a big batting cage there in Minnesota, and he kind of sees my start unraveling a little bit, so he goes and takes his bats and puts them around the corner. Well, apparently he didn't hide them well enough. And I mean, I turned those things into balsa wood. I come in the next day and just it's a perfectly wrapped handle. Lizard skin intact, but it's just the handle of it just sitting in my locker.
Yeah.
And you know, some guys care about it and some guys don't. I've had a couple teammates come up to me and go, "Chris, I know you get angry. Please don't touch my bats. Like, my bats are sacred to me. Yeah. Don't do anything to my bat." So it's like, I walk in, I'll check the handle. If it has number 13 on it, I'm putting it back. 27, here we go.
Who was the first person to ever tell you don't do anything with your pitching hand? Because that's the other thing. Please, whatever you do.
Summer ball coach.
Yeah, please don't do anything.
No, never that. Never that.
Yeah.
All right,
Because
Chris.
we've seen, unfortunately.
Well, yeah,
You forget if you're lefty or righty at a given moment. That's bad news for people.
Yeah, well, it kind of blends into that competitive nature, too, sometimes. Sometimes you just get, you know, and I understand guys getting overwhelmed with their emotions. And, you know, we put a lot of work into this. And we you know, there's a lot of things going on in professional sports. So I get it, but you got to try to find different ways to
There's
get
a
it
lot
out.
of respect in this room, and I think in Braves fan country, owning up the way that you have. We've talked about it a lot since last year. We were told before you got here, hey, this guy's a dude. This guy's a player. This guy is a ball player. And a lot of times as a pitcher, we're not really sure what that means because we think of everyday players that way. There's been a lot of respect given to you with the way that you go about your business.
No, and I appreciate that. I really do. It means a lot.
Well, Chris, we appreciate you coming by and continued success. I know you're going to figure out a way to get this thing done. Just be careful with the clubhouse, beating yourself up, and just continue to stay the course. Right, Chris? Isn't that what you say all the time?
Yes.
No doubt.
It's all going to be we believe it's all going to be okay.
Yep.
Okay, keep swinging the axe till the tree falls, right?
That's it. Chris
There we go.
Sale, Cy Young Award winner here in studio with us.